everybody, it's so good to be back on YouTube again. It feels a lot longer than it's been. I realize some of you might have been wondering what happened to me, and I also realize that some of you probably do watch YouTube on your televisions and may not come across the community tab that's part of YouTube. So 3 weeks or so ago, I did put up an announcement, maybe longer ago, that August was looking like it was going to be super crazy and that I probably would not be making much content during that time. But we're all good. We're all okay. Just kind of summer craziness. One big thing that we did was that we had a graduation party for my son, and with that came some out-of-town guests who were staying at my house. And so we kind of took the opportunity to do a deep spring cleaning, if you want to call it that. So anyway, yeah, so doing all those things, any of you who have like thrown a party know it kind of gets all consuming. And then also just getting things ready for company and things like that. So I was doing all that on top of just trying to keep my life going and listing and trying to make money and things like that. So YouTube had to take a back seat, but I am hopefully back in action. And life, of course, is still busy, but we just don't have those big projects going on. So one thing we did as part of our deep clean was kind of move around our inventory, try to streamline things. We cleaned some things out, even just personal items. We took a bunch of stuff to the thrift store to donate. And I'll talk more a little bit towards the end of the video about just what's new with our reselling business or how things are going. I know I had that video a while back about trying to streamline things, so I'll kind of give you an update on that. But for now, I am going out to go meet a friend for coffee and to do some thrifting together. I'm not going to film anything as we go, but I will, if I find anything super interesting, I will be back with a report. And again, I'll share some of the things that we're doing a little bit differently in our reselling shop. So I hope you guys have been doing great. Hopefully the summer slowdown didn't hit you too badly. And just let me know in the comments down below how the summer has been treating you. Are things ramping up now that we're kind of getting out of summer? So let me know how things have been going for you. I really have missed the community that we have here on YouTube and that chance to kind of go back and forth. So I am going to go have some fun for a bit, relax a little bit, and I will be back. Okay, so it is the next day, as you probably have guessed, and I just got so busy at the end of yesterday that I didn't have a chance to do any kind of follow-up, but I just wanted to share real quickly the two exciting finds that I came across. My friend and I went to our bins. I call it that loosely, but it's not a Goodwill bins. I've explained it before. It's just our local thrift store chain has a clearance store, and they, a few years back had moved it into, or a few months back moved it into a new location. And so now the clothing comes out on conveyor belts and then goes back in. And so it's not really bins, and then there's shelves of hard goods. And then there are some bins of like shoes and books and things like that. So we went there first, and I was super excited when I spotted this on the shelf. Have you guys seen one of these before? It needs some cleaning. But I had sold like 6 or 7 or 8 of these in the past. Maybe 6, I can't remember. But anyway, when we lived in Washington on a trip to Montana, I went to a thrift store, surprise, surprise. And there was like 6 of these, and I wasn't quite sure what they were, except that they're like a pretty thick glass, like a milk glass. And they are marked Corning on the bottom, Corning made in the USA. And then there's just a little picture of a glass blower there. And so I brought them home. They went into a bin because we were on a road trip, and they kind of got stored away for a little while. And then I think it might have been, we moved them to Montana, and finally, like, you know what, I got to get those out and figure out what they are. And I pulled them out, and so researching, I found out that they're US Navy, they're World War II era, they're called Watchman mugs. There's no handle. They're like a hand warmer mug or watchman mug, a watch mug. I've seen lots of different terms used. But once it's full of warm liquid, then, you know, the person on the watch can keep their hands warm. Anyway, that's the story. So the ones I sold on Etsy back then, I sold them all for about $40 to $50 a piece. So we'll see how this one does. But it was just kind of fun to see one on the shelf. And I grabbed it up pretty quickly. So if I can at least get 40 for that, 35, 40, I'll be happy with that. And then we also just went over to Goodwill. They were having a coupon for men's clothing at half off. And I think I just picked up something for my son, but I did find a flatware. I know it's hard to see in the camera. It's still all shrunk wrapped up because I don't want it flying all over the place, but it's mostly, I did pick it up. It was $5.99 for the container. Most of the time at Goodwill, the flatware is in baggies on the wall. But every once in a while, they fill up one of these flatware trays, and usually they just put a mishmash of all sorts of junky flatware, and I don't usually buy them. But when I looked in here, most of them are a vintage pattern, and I think they're just marked stainless steel Japan, and there is a mark, so I probably will be able to figure out a maker's mark. But looks like I can make a whole set. And then there does appear to be some other random vintage flatware in there too. So for $6, I was like, I cannot go wrong with that flatware. Anyway, so that was what I found, and I had fun with my friend. And anyway, so I promised you that I would just kind of update you on what we were up to besides the party and the company and all that kind of stuff, how the reselling business is going. I guess sales have picked up. I could say they've picked up since earlier in the summer. I feel like we're doing a lot of work, and I feel like there should be more sales, but maybe that's coming fourth quarter. I don't know. But we're doing okay. Like every once in a while I'm like, oh, we're not selling enough, right? And then I realized, so Mr. Pish Posh does have his own eBay store as well. It's not even a store, it's just an account at this point. And he has things he's listing Lego over there. He's also listing things like maybe he picks up when we go to the clearance store. We have got road work going on. Things that he picks up, and he says like sometimes if he's not quite sure, it's like an item that's really obscure and he can tell it turns on, but he doesn't know maybe that it works exactly, and there's a chance of returns and things. They'll just list it over on that site instead of our main store. And just guy stuff that I don't need to have any kind of input in or anything like that. So he's having sales over there, and he'll tell me when things sell. And so I do realize that our sales situation is probably a bit better than what I think of all the time. So I had a video a while back about our Ruby Lane, shutting down Ruby Lane. Still in the process of that. My son is helping me with that, and he is, I was just having him do a few a day when he had a chance, and then I've like, all right, we really need to ramp it up. So he's been trying to move like 40, 50 at a time. And we are like, there's so much more in that store than I realized. Like it was a pretty big store over on Ruby Lane. And what I did do at one point is I went through all that was left in the store, and I decided whether or not I wanted to even bother moving it over to eBay and Etsy. Some of this stuff has just been sitting around, and it was just kind of something random vintage I had picked up and thought, I'll just throw it on Ruby Lane and see what happens. So I cleared out a bunch of stuff that way. That was part of that kind of cleaning and culling that I was doing. So he makes drafts in eBay, and then I go in and finish up the draft and then post it live onto eBay, and then I import it into my software and I cross-post it to Posh or to Etsy. And Posh is actually, the amount of vintage stuff that has sold on Posh has been kind of surprising. And then we're also just adding new things as well as we come across them. Different things we pick up at our clearance store, clothing, shoes. We're trying to get ready for fall coming. So I've been trying to get some more fall type clothes like sweaters and different types of shoes, not just sandals, and things like that, and trying to focus on that a little bit more. It's also a good time of year for coffee mugs. It's a good time of year for flatware and for dinnerware, because people will start trying to fill up their tables for the holidays that are right around the corner. So anyway, so that's what we've been doing there. Some of the stuff I have on Ruby Lane is like kind of no-name vintage jewelry or something like that. It's just something that like will sell, but it doesn't have a good name that's gonna like pull people quickly. And so I'm trying to sprinkle those types of listings like among some other things that hopefully would sell faster. Does that make sense? Because I feel like if I just fill up my eBay store with all this stuff that's going to take a long time, then that could slow our sales down too. So I as long as we're getting them off of Ruby Lane into drafts, then I can just work on, maybe I pull like something with a name brand, get it crossed, moved over to eBay. And some of those things have actually sold pretty quickly. No shade to Ruby Lane, but they're just a smaller platform. And I said it before in the other video, I have no problem with Ruby Lane. I actually really like it as a platform. But this is just to kind of streamline the process a little bit. So he's doing that. Let's see. So that's going okay. The only other change I think we've made since I've talked to you, and this is not like a sales pitch, not in the least, because I wasn't even prepared to like promote this at all. But we decided to try out another software called Nifty AI. And so this takes the place of the other ones I was using. So no more Vendoo and no more Prime Lister. Again, no problems with those platforms, those tools. They work actually pretty well. I had looked at Nifty AI when I first started hearing the buzz about it, right? So a lot of bigger YouTuber resellers were talking about it. And honestly, I was very cynical at first. And I was like, okay, they must have a really good like referral program or something, because they are talking about it everywhere. And so I just I didn't even, I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's kind of pricey. I was like, no, it's okay. I'm good with where I'm at, right? And then I think what it was that kind of convinced me was, I think it's Mogi Beth. I don't know if that's how you say it, but she's a pretty, a YouTuber that's been around for a while, a reseller. And she had been working on some software, like reseller software. And she released it, I think, this year, and, had put a bunch of money into it. And then I saw a video, or I saw a post by hers that said that she was abandoning it because Nifty AI did everything that already did everything that she had hoped her platform could do, her tool could do. So I was like, seriously? Okay, so that's interesting. So it made me take a second look at it. And so I was doing the math, and I was realizing that going forward, if our eBay store was continuing to grow and our cross-listing and things like that, what we'd end up paying between Prime Lister and Vendoo was going to be about the same as what Nifty is charging, right? And all I can say is Nifty just does everything like seamlessly. And so what it does cross-listing, keeps track of your inventory. I know there's a big section on like analytics and things like that. But it does the sharing on all the platforms. It does the automatic delisting. When something sells, it does the offers, to people. You can set all those things up, and it's all just in one program. And all I can say is it's so much faster, like the cross posting, so much more information gets moved over from section to section, that it's so much faster to cross list. The auto delisting, one of the little quirks. There were things that, like in Vendu, I just put up with because it was better than manually cross-listing. But when I looked at it, there was like little quirks that, like I said, you just put up with. Like they didn't have auto delisting for Etsy sales, and Nifty AI does. Okay, so when things sell, I don't have to even think about it. Like I just know it's going to delist from all the other platforms. And when it cannot, like sometimes there's an issue with Posh, maybe an offer or a thing or something blocked it, it sends you an email. So I find out right away that, hey, this didn't delist. You might have to go in and manually delist that. Anywho, like I said, that's not a spiel. If you're a smaller store, if you are, only cross-posting to maybe one other platform or something like that, there are tools that work just fine and probably don't cost as much. So I will put, if anyone is like in a position where they want to try something new, I will have my link down below. There is a opportunity, like I did it for 7 days free first. And, that'll, you can try it out for 7 days. And then if you don't want to pay the price or whatever like that, then if you have any questions, just leave me a question. So that has actually freed up quite a bit of my time as far as the little nuts and bolts of offers and things like that. So that was something new that we're doing. And then we're also trying to get ready for fourth quarter. I think we all do. We have like stuff in our stores that's it's been sitting there too long. So I was like, I'm just gonna, when this party's over, I'm gonna go out into the bins. I'm gonna go through all the bins, make sure whatever's listed is there, whatever's there is listed or gets donated. Cause I know there's stuff in those bins that I delisted a long time ago because I was done with them. And then I just never went physically and grabbed the item and donated it. So I need to clean up a lot of that stuff. But I also, I also just have stuff I'm tired of looking at in my store. So I'm like, let's go find those things, delist them, make sure they're not live anywhere, and then we'll donate them. And so that was one of my next projects that I'm working on. And I said, you know what I'm going to do first? I created a clearance category in my eBay store. And then anything that I wanted to get rid of that I'm thinking of doing that with, I changed the main store category, and can only be one store category, to that clearance section. And then I went into the sale, like running a sale. And you can run a sale just on one store section. And so I ran a sale on that clearance section of 50% off. So I don't usually do discounts that big, but I thought, you know what? A few bucks, I get my money, my investment back, and one last chance to make a few bucks before things go to the thrift store. And so we did that. And I would say, when I looked last, we did it for about a week and we sold about $200 worth of stuff. So I was happy with that. Like we moved some things, some clothing maybe that had just been listed way too long, and we're coming out of the season and I didn't want to wait a whole nother, hopefully by the next season, someone would want it. So now it's gone and it moved and I made a few bucks and I was happy with that. So now I have to go. That's one of my next projects, is to take all those leftovers, whatever else I don't want to look at anymore, and find it physically and get rid of it. So that's next on my agenda. Anyway, I feel like I just info dumped on you guys, but so yeah, I'm hoping to be back on a regular schedule of posting. I will also, probably the next video will be a what sold. We'll be going back to July again or something. And that, kind of ease me in with an easier kind of video again. But feel free to let me know in the comments down below what kind of content you'd like, things that maybe topics I can talk about or different things like that. And anyway, glad to be back and hope you guys are all doing well. Like I said earlier, also leave me a comment and let me know how your sales are going for the month or for the end of summer. And I will talk to you later.